Hi, I'm Alan Bresnik from Light Reading. We're here in New York at our Future of Cable Business Services event, and I'm speaking to Vikram Saxena from NetScout. Hi, Vikram.
Hey, Alan.
So, you made a great presentation earlier today about
Thank you.
what cable operators should know about virtualization and different trends in the industry. Can you tell us some of the highlights of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously, as you pointed out, business services continues to be a growth area for the cable operators. And, what I find exciting from a NetScout perspective is we have been selling into the enterprise a lot longer than we've been selling to service providers.
Right.
So we have a very good handle around the enterprise networks and the migration to cloud and movement to SD-WAN from MPLS.
Right.
We have been watching all that and being part of that actually before operators are getting involved. So my feeling is we can really help the operators who are trying to get into these new areas to understand the requirements from business customers and how to actually meet them and give them a high quality service. So that's the message I was trying to convey, is that, what are the drivers from an enterprise point of view? Why are they going to SD-WAN? Why are they moving to multi-cloud? What's happening with applications, microservices and all that? And how do you give a high quality of experience so they are delighted to have an operator as their partner as opposed to going to somebody else or doing it themselves, So that was the message I was trying to give in the presentation, really.
And as you mentioned in your presentation, you talked about how some enterprises are going to SD-WAN on their own and do it themselves. Things. So prompts a question which we got into on our discussion about, is this a lost opportunity for service providers, or do they still have a chance in the SD-WAN market?
Yeah, so I think you have to look at the market in segments. So I think at the very high end, enterprises who have always had a good networking staff, on their roster, they are used to doing things themselves, and they don't really trust anybody else, right? So they feel everything they do is very mission critical, and they tend to provide those services themselves. So I think that segment will most likely do it themselves, because they're capable of doing it, and they view that as mission critical to their business. Now, if you take that segment aside, then there is a mid to lower segment who are not as technology savvy, and they don't have the staff and the resources and the expertise to do it. And I think they are the ones who generally turn to service providers to help them do it. So I think that segment of the market is clearly open for service providers to go help them. But the one caveat is, I think all of these guys, when they move to SD-WAN or any other services, there are drivers behind it. And I think what the operators, I think, generally tend to miss is SD-WAN is not an extension or a replacement or an augmentation of MPLS. MPLS was a fairly static service because it was just connecting offices to a data center where the applications were running. What is driving businesses now is that the applications are breaking up and moving to hybrid cloud. So the entire networking infrastructure has to adapt to the way the applications are being built and distributed in a hybrid cloud environment, which is a very agile environment. That's driving SD-WAN, because SD-WAN is nothing but a software-based way to create overlay networks. And that maps well to an agile environment. So what the operators have to understand is SD-WAN is not another connectivity service or a bandwidth service, but it is a way to fit into an application infrastructure. And therefore, what they need to provide is an ability to managing the applications running over this network, which is very different from MPLS, because MPLS being static, the whole focus was on bandwidth and connectivity and SLA at the layer 2, layer 3 level. That's not going to be how SD-WAN is going to roll out. And if they try to operate SD-WAN as an extension of the network, I think they'll be missing an opportunity here.
Do you think they get that point?
I'm not sure whether they, I try to convey that to our panel as well as the presentation, but I think they will slowly get into that, because otherwise they're not going to be that successful into that segment of the market, which is very much driven to SD-WAN from a cloud. In fact, there was a question in the panel last about, somebody asked them, do you see Amazon as a competition because they are a cloud provider? and they could offer an SD-WAN service to connect enterprises into the cloud. Because they want people to come into the cloud and they want to manage that access into the cloud as well as the cloud. And I think, I'm not sure everybody understood that that could be a really disruptive model because it's all driven from cloud. So I think that's a realization that has to happen. If a cloud guy actually enters into providing SD-WAN service, I think that will be an eye-opener to service providers to say, okay, this is not a typical WAN service, but it's really tied to migrating into the cloud and a new application infrastructure.
What do you expect to see happen in the SD-WAN market in the new year?
So I think operators will continue to push in the SD-WAN market, but I wouldn't be surprised if over the next 12 to 18 months, seeing one of the cloud guys jump into this, to offer a combination of a cloud, a hybrid cloud and a WAN infrastructure to connect all that.
Oh, that would make for some very interesting competition.
Yeah, that'll be a very disruptive and interesting competition because that has never happened in this space so far.
Okay. All right. Vikram, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.